Welcome back. Yes, indeed. Idah Peterside joins us next. Good morning, and thank you for joining us on the program today. Never mind politics and what's going on over there. But look, for this particular one, we can play this and replay this over and over again. CAF royalties, that's what I like to refer to them. The male and female footballers of the year, Victor Osimhen and his sister Oshoala, all making Nigerians grin from ear to ear. This is the kind of news you want to hear on a regular basis, but unfortunately, you can't always have what you want. Well, Mr. Peterside, thank you again for joining us. So, I don't know if I should ask you if you saw this coming, but indeed, haven't seen this awards go to these two people. I mean, understandably, Oshoala, 6th time now, but we look at our football. Oh boy, that's the downside. But of course, this. Give us your impression, first of all, when these announcements were made.
No, thank you, Chamberlain. Thank you for having me. I hope you can hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you.
What wonderful! It's like a light in a very dark tunnel. We've suffered immensely from the performance of our national teams in the last few months and few years. You know, if you see the roll call is so encouraging that Osisat won for the female, Osimhen won for the male, and Chiamaka, the goalkeeper of the year. It's just a good sign, absolute good sign that we still have great talents in our national teams. It's just how to harness them, how to put them together to get the desired results.
You know, speaking about putting them together to get the desired results, and if you look at these individual players, you could almost tell that the grit that they put into it, sticking, and then they kept on going. We never really can say for sure that the system that produced them. I mean, at what point, and I know we highlight this time and again, the importance of us having the academies, the structure, the system to produce tons of Osimhen's, Nadozies, and Ashisha, several, but I know it almost sounds like water on stone.
Yes, you should have listened to, obviously you would have had Osimhen saying, even before, accepting the CAF Males Player of the Year award, the first thing he did was to appreciate Emmanuel Amunike. Now, it goes to tell us that we can still produce these players from the grassroots. And this young man came to the scene 8 years ago, and I know a lot of stories surrounding him. He didn't even have boots to play with. And he got there, someone had to loan him a boot to play with. And in the first stanza, no one selected him. And as he was leaving, one of the coaches called Emmanuel's attention to say, what about this tall guy? Remember, he scored 2 goals. This was in 2015. He made the team to the 7th where he shone like a bright star. From there until now. Now, when you look at the trajectory, every one of these players that came from the structures down, came from Nigeria. Osisat, we all know, played for the local teams. Chiamaka played for the local teams. They're playing in Europe now. That's why it is so important, very vital, that the structures must be right. Even though we've been hearing structures of late in Port Harcourt, but the structure here has to be right at that national level to be able to produce. Who produce great players? Look at how they're doing very well internationally. If we invest more in our, grassroots football, invest more in our FAs, and they'll begin to chunk out this kind of players you see. And imagine how many we can have. We have great talents in Nigeria, and I'm so excited. And they did us wearing the green color just to tell you where they're coming from.
But yeah,
I was just going to say, to put it in context for our viewers, I think, well, for Asisat, this is not the first time she's won it.
6 times.
Women seem to be doing really great because even the Falcons was chosen as Team of the Year. And I think that goes to, say a lot about what the women's team are doing. And when you have to ask what exactly is happening to the men's team, or just to put it in context, just in case you're wondering why this is a big deal, we haven't had this, at least in the male category, Male Player Award, since 1999. We understand Kanu Wankwo was the last person to have won it for the male category. So Victor Osimhen is really doing a great job here, bringing back some pride to our football. But if this is, if we're in the same country, for God's sake, and the women's team is doing great, they're even still being nominated. This is not Asisat's first time. What exactly is happening with the women's team that is not happening with the male team?
Well, question. That's what we're trying to find out. We've been asking a lot of questions. And for us, those of us that are involved in football, I think a whole lot of emphasis are being placed on players that are playing outside the country. And with that, it's stunting our development. You find out that no one looks into our league. No one is bothered about what happens in our in states, in leagues, and in FAs. The attention has been drifted to Europe, and that's what I think. And when you look at the female team, you will agree with me that in every tournament you will see that we have a whole lot of players that are playing at home. There's this debate that yes, when we used to play, the talk was foreign base versus home base. These days now, it is no longer about foreign base; it is foreign born versus home born. You see, the mentality is very different. Most times when you play, if you come from home here and then you play for the national team and you don't do well, you know that when you come home, your father, mother, uncles, aunties will ask you questions and say, see how far you disgraced our national team or disgraced the family. So the input is quite different. It's a thing of big debate. I think, again, coaching is another thing. We need to look at the coaching factor. We've looked at our national team. We have great players. We can genuinely say we're in a season where we have crops of great players. What are we doing with these players? How are we replacing them? Who is looking in? The goal for Nigeria. I was invited by West Ham. When I was invited by West Ham, I was playing for Rangers. In Keshoromo, that was my colleague, was playing for stationery stores. Yes, at the end of the game, we will have one professional player flying, but we're given opportunities. We are being helped, and I think it is very important.
Well, thank you, Mr. Peterside. Going perhaps by way of saying the same thing that Maokpo is saying, only this time differently. One of the comments, and I like your reaction to it, is something that I believe that you've also been concerned about. But when Asisat was also receiving her own award, one of the things that she said that really, really struck me is, at the end of the day, if we don't support ourselves, nobody will come to Africa. Nobody will come to this continent to support us. We have to work together as a team because football is a team sport. Let's start at home and go to the world and conquer it. Those were her words. What is holding us back, Mr. Peterside?
I don't know if you're talking politics now or you're talking football.
Well, it's a footballer that made the comment.
When I had her speech, I wondered what was bothering her, what she knew that we didn't know. I think we've come a long way. We've come a long way in Africa. We're better organized, especially when it comes to the CAF setting. We're better organized. Our clubs are doing well continentally. The political part of it, I'm not a politician, so I don't know what she has heard or seen. But I think what's happening, okay, let me just take it up a little bit further. What is happening in Africa is that we are beginning to depend so much on FIFA, which is not right. Every other federation wants to be independent from FIFA, and we can now meet at FIFA. But what is happening in Africa, everything we do, FIFA sends us a secretary, FIFA sends us an envelope. Yeah, every time there's an opening of a nursery school, you see the FIFA president is here. I think that's what she's saying. I would be saying to the CAF president, this is not our union. Our union is not FIFA. We need to develop ourselves. If CAF needs anything, why don't you speak to Nigeria? Why don't you speak to Morocco?
Oh dear. Well, sincerely hope that we'll be able to get Mr. Peter's side back, because when... Okay. If you can hear me, please go ahead.
Yes, I can hear you.
Please go ahead.
So the setting has become very, very difficult for Africa, where, okay, there's been this argument. They wanted to take part of the African Nations Cup game to Saudi Arabia. Part of the African Nations Cup game, at the point they wanted to go to Dubai. You can't do that. Nobody.
Well, we hope we'll be able to get Mr. Peter's side back on that one. You know. Okay. Go ahead if you can hear me.
I can hear you clearly.
Please go ahead. Well, the network is not really very friendly this morning, Mr. Peter's. I sincerely hope that one of these days we'll be able to have a better conversation with this. But you know, when those comments that were made by Assisa Oshoala, you know, talking about African football, only speaks to a lot of things. Beyond the politics of the whole conversation is the fact that we need to develop African football. I mean, and I say this, I mean, guys, I don't know what your experiences have been. We are celebrating two noble Nigerians who are doing the nation proud, Victor Osimhen and Assisa Oshoala. And a good number of people, you know, just 1 second, yeah. A good number of people will wonder whether or not, in what way, because it's one of the challenges that many people point out. What contribution has Nigeria, that's an argument some of them will make, made in their sports or sporting prowess to the point that they're able to win these international awards, get international acclaim, and bring the glory to Nigeria, which some of them believe didn't really contribute to their successes? Well,
it speaks to individual effort, you know, at the level of the footballers who are particularly representing us outside the country. Individual effort now, you know, what Assisa Oshoala is doing and what Victor Osimhen is doing. The question now is, how have we harnessed this, you know? And I was going to ask Mr. Ipitasai, that does this, you know, sufficiently compensate for those years where we thought that we deserved, you know, the African Footballer of the Year award? You know, at the time it was believed it was supposed to have gone to JJ Okocha, and it didn't go to him, you know. So has this compensated for it? But what are we doing back home to harness all of this potential, particularly, you know, with that all-important need to catch them young, you know, to go to those communities where we have huge potential, you know, and Oshoala and Osimhen's feat shows that we do have them, the potential back home. But what are we contributing in terms of investment, in terms of resources, to ensure that, you know, we give visibility to, you know, that talent that is a resident back home?
And it's not that we don't have these things. It's not that we don't have these opportunities or these privileges or these things, latent potential that you talked about. Victor Osimhen was mentioning Emmanuel Amunike the other time. Emmanuel Amunike, I mean, was the one who was Clemens Westerhoff's joker. Yeah. During that World Cup, that Olympic Dream Team, that you know, he was his joker. He didn't feature him until the final match, where he pulled two goals that gave Nigeria the victory at the gold, you know, in that tournament at the time. But let's see if we can still get Mr. Peter's side back. Mr. Peter's side, are you still there? Okay, not really. You know, so that is on the one hand, and then, but then in 1986, 87, we had the Golden Eaglets. Every single one of them was homegrown, and they had a place where all they did was play this football for quite a number of months, and they went to the Golden Eaglets, the debut under 17 World Cup, and they beat the whole world to a gold medal. They got this gold medal, brought the glory to Nigeria, and I will never forget the fact that a Nigerian musician, Ebenezer Obey, made a full album in the name of the World Golden Eaglets, he called them. Those were days that we want to come back. Can we have them regularly, Chamberlain and Mokwe?
Well, Christmas comes once a year, you know.
Can you have Christmas regularly?
Well, at least we know it is once a year. So, can it be, I mean, not once in 24 years. So really, I mean, of course, female team doing us proud. They're showing that it is possible if we really apply ourselves to it. And it's something that we really should work on as a people. I mean, the fact that our players are doing well individually says that there is so much more potential inherent in our players and that needs to be harnessed, put together. So we need to, as Mr. Peterside said, find out why is it that our players are doing well individually. Why is it that our women's team are doing so great as a team? Just in case they start to say it's not just individually we're doing well. But I think there's plenty of digging to be done. And at the end of the day, who knows? We might be able to predict that, well, at least Christmas comes once a year. Maybe at least once a year or every other time. We should be able, or we win this every 2 years. We should be able to do some predictions in that regard, shouldn't we?
Well, yes, and as a matter of fact, we didn't mean to leave out Chiamaka Nnadozie, who won the female goalkeeper of the year. I mean, we're going to ask Idah. He himself was also between the goalpost in his time with the Super Eagles. So what's going on with that? And of course, he will be elated with this particular award to her. So it's been, I mean, when last was that, as a matter of fact, that we clinched this? But clearly, we'll have a lot to do if we need to keep getting this kind of results. But clearly, I'm just going to go ahead and enjoy the moment with this ladies and gentlemen who won this award, making us all proud, happy. These are the kind of scenarios we need. So that goes to say, look, we don't have to wait for the NFF, whatever it is. Just wherever you can, do what you can to support the team in whatever way forward. Don't be a fair weather fan.
Should they start rating football associations as well? Maybe that is true. I mean, if we're doing player of the year, team of the year, coach of the year, perhaps they should have football association of the year, and then we can have something to hold our NFF to say, well, you never show up in any of the, you're not even nominated. So what precisely are you doing as an association?
I mean, at this point, is it fair to call them politicians? Because they can promise a lot when they're contesting for these positions. But when they eventually get there, your guess is as good as mine. Well, there you go. That is the show today. We do thank you all for watching. We'll see you again tomorrow. I'm Chamberlain. So goodbye.
Thank you for being a part. Oh, well.
Do we?
Oh, dear. Well, we just saw now. So sorry about this. I know already signed off, but just to acknowledge, Victor wore Law Alpha Cross and this email. Well, don't want to promise, but...
Yeah, I will take them tomorrow. We got to go, though, unfortunately. But acknowledge and thank you all for it.
Thank you. Well, thank you for watching today. I'm Maupe Ogun Yusuf. Goodbye.
Well, I'm told that we can take one or two on this side of the divide. So let's accommodate Festus Akimboyewa, who says, congratulations to Victor Osimhen and Asisat Oshoala for winning the Africa Footballer of the Year award. Truly, Nigeria know they carry last. Well, maybe on Christmas of every year. Ayo.
Well, this one is also from Victor. The law states that at defection, seats become vacant. Why is our judiciary being lax and not effecting it? We'll keep having all these. If the judiciary does not take a firm stance, politicians beat their children and ask them to hold their lips and not shout. Well, as Jamelin has said, we're going to continue this maybe tomorrow or some other time. Thank you for a wonderful time with you today. Amaya Makinde, have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you for watching. I am Bukola Koka.